Hey, Printhousers, welcome back to Printavo Printhousers Podcast. I'm your host, Bruce from Printavo. We have got a very special episode. Of course, we've got Mr. Stephen Farragut out of Campus Inc. Mr. Farragut's running around like crazy with a new hire, which we got to chat about as well. But we got Jim and Chris from Cobra Flex to talk about direct-to-film. Some really cool stuff that we've been hinting around about. And Stephen, you've taken the plunge to buy in. And so, first of all, Jim and Chris, thanks for joining us. I know Chris is just jumping in too soon, but thank you guys. It's been great.
Jim, do you want to give us a quick background on you guys, Cobra Flex, how you got into this?
So Cobra Flex got into this. We've been doing this for probably about 3 years now. We've been working on the powder machines and ran the powder machines and decided, look, we got to do something different. The smoke, the smell, just the mess that a powder machine is gonna put out. We got to do something different. So Chris and I have been working on this process for about 2 years now, and said we got to try something. We ended up trying the no powder with an adhesive. They kept saying it can't be done. There was a few times I will tell you that we kind of thought the same thing. And we just kept on changing and changing and changing, whether it was heat, drying processes, more lights, less lights. So we tried every process out there and finally came to the conclusion that we can do this. Got it done about 8-9 months ago, still working on it. And, every day is another advance in what the process is all about. So, did our big release at the Pittsburgh show, and Stephen received the first no powder machine in his facility.
Whoa!
Yeah. Serial. It hasn't even been. I need a serial number 00. That's all I requested. That's all I want.
Etched in.
Then I'll be happy.
We're making that now. I'll put it on the laser. So that's definitely coming up. So it's been working out pretty well. So far, quite a few units in build right now. Units going to be shipping out this week, next week. So the market is hot, and we're really pushing as many machines as we can out there now.
That's awesome.
And this is just the beginning.
All right. So Chris, tell us a little bit about DTF. For anyone that really doesn't know much about it, it doesn't stand for what traditionally people think that is. So what is DTF?
Yeah, basically it's just applying ink to a film as opposed to what people really think that's meant for. That's been in the past, but it's applying ink to film, having an adhesive, whether it's a powder or now a liquid glue, onto that film as it kind of goes through the heating unit or powder shaker, whatever it may be. Basically kind of dries that on there, roll to roll or sheets. And then you can heat apply it to pretty much about any product right now.
So what's interesting is we were in a shop that used a lot of transfers probably until the pandemic hit because of masks. We really didn't order a ton. And then once we realized we could get them for masks, we were ordering a ton of them. And I think what was interesting is our spend went up to probably spent $2,000 to $3,000 a month from all the different companies out there, Supa, F&M, 618, all of them. And I still think there's a place for them, right? But where do you think DTF is going to fit into the screen printing market?
I definitely think the DTF printing is going to take over a big portion of the screen printing market without a doubt. I'm seeing it already in all the customers that we have that already have the product themselves and that are producing and or are requesting transfers to be done to see if they can basically convert the customers that they have on designs that are full color, single color. So, without a doubt, yeah, a lot. It's gonna definitely take a lot of the screen printing industry away, plus the labor. Having a qualified screen printer to print a multicolor job, burn screens, reclaim, everything else that goes with it. They're up in production in give or take about 15 minutes.
Yeah, so, I started diving down this rabbit hole of DTF. I was in some Facebook groups, forums, one thing led to another, and Dave from Multicraft connected us, and we kind of figured out what's so special about the Cobra Flex? Because it is uniquely different than any other system that's out there. Can you guys kind of chat a little bit about that?
So I can tell you that one of the unique differences is that the machines that Cobra Flex basically runs their machines, designs, builds, and runs their machines in-house before they ship them out the door.
And
So,
by Cobra Flex, that's you guys.
yes, that's us.
Okay.
So,
No one else in Arizona.
no one else in Arizona. We build all the dryers, everything. I'd like to say it's 100% made in the United States, but there's not a product in the world that's made in 100%. We buy our lights and our lamps overseas, bring them over here, coordinate with our build teams, and our build teams all put them. They build them, wrap them, assemble them all here in Tempe, Arizona. Same with our printer units. Our printer units come over. We install the headboards, all the stuff that we designed for the machine, and then we put it out to the market after we test it for 24 to 48 hours minimum on our floors. Our machines come with a computer. It comes with the software installed for rapid deployment, pretty much. So.
Yeah. So one thing that was interesting when I started figuring it out, you can actually try to buy a DTF directly from China, right? And I learned really quickly in the forums and the groups how like dangerous that is.
Why?
Because the instructions come in another language, but you literally have to put the machine together from like scratch. And then there's a lot of like software. There's the hardware, and then there's the RIP involved, and then there's the getting everything tuned up. What was interesting and what I learned in the process was they sent out the techs, and Cobra Flex has techs that are out there that are trained on wide format. And they were explaining to me all the calibration that went into it, bleeding all the lines out. There are so many things that could go wrong. I can't believe I thought for a second that I was going to buy it overseas. But talk to us about what that process is like. Like, what is it like when you're a new shop that wants to get one? I mean, I think having you two as experts is important, but chat with us a little bit about that because I think that's important.
So I'll give you the complete synopsis. So Cobra Flex Printers does not sell printers to the public. So Cobra Flex Printers has pre-qualified our dealers, and right now we have 4 dealers in place. We'll probably have 6 by the time it's all said and done. But in order to be a dealer for Cobra Flex Printers, you must have the service capabilities in order to become a dealer. So that was one of the things that we had looked at, and we did the same thing as you. As over the years we've monitored those. We monitor those Facebook pages like crazy, and say, how can we make our process, our unit, our just our service that much better? Because there are so many people that buy the Chinese machine, or even buy a stateside Chinese machine, and still have the same type of an issue. So what we said is we're going to make sure that this thing is ready to go out the door. We run it, drain it, get it ready for shipping, and once you receive it, it's ready to go. So each machine we can log into remotely, or you can log in remotely if you need to do remote cleans or anything like that. And we can check and find out what type of issues that you're having with your machine, and kind of walk you through it pretty quick as you have experienced. Somehow a glitch happened and it turned the software back to another language, and we were able to fix that within seconds rather than having to send it.
What language was it? You couldn't understand?
It was Chinese.
Our software, I mean, is a Chinese offset printing based software, which is Maintop, and we are working with CADLink now to profile and put our machines on CADLink too. So we have some local distributors for that too.
How'd you guys get into this? Just you guys, like, where did this all come from?
I'll be honest with you. I was a large print shop owner, and I had a 10 color, a 12 color, a 6 color, 4 or 5 manuals, 100 embroidery machines. we did 1.5 million hats in the previous years. I mean, so we were a large scale operation. And when COVID hit, kind of the same thing, masks, we converted our facility to actually sewing and making masks. And I had an Oki, and I'm like, I gotta figure this out. I've been working on this, and I had the machine sitting here, and I'm like, it's time to go live with this stuff. So we were a little bit ahead of the game and figured we got to get it done, and started pushing really, really hard on trying to do this now. And honestly, I went from 41 employees down to 9 employees. And I can tell you that I have a 60-inch Cobra Flex that runs, a full roll of film just about every day, 50 inches wide.
Wow. So the whole business just shifted, and then this was the total pivot.
Yes, it was. It was a little bit stressful in the beginning, but I could tell you that I went from sublimating masks. I have a full sublimation operation, and I went from sublimating masks to Cobra Flexing black, white, different colored masks. So I had an inventory sitting here, and I was able to get them out the door that much faster. So
wow. Chris, how did you get into this?
Well, let me finish this real quick.
Oh, there's a story getting better?
Yes. So,
how
it came with Chris is Chris has been a distributor of inks and other stuff. He had been my distributor that we bought inks and stuff from, and I liked his business model because Chris has a kind of an Amazon business model. He runs through the state with 3 or 4 trucks that he has inks and stuff on the truck with. So then I just said, you know what? If I'm going to partner with anybody, this is the guy I want to do it with. Man, it's an instant deal. It's a instant. Let's put 100 units in the field. He can deliver the inks as fast as possible, and that's how it came to be. And R&D wise, he's got many years of the screen print side. So I'll let him tell you the rest from that point.
So long story short, I've been in this industry 40 years. I was running large shops. We were doing Super Bowls, World Series, hot market, not counting rock bands, and everything you can imagine. I felt like I had a lot of talent. I spun off about 10 years ago to create a supply business and just start buying transit vans. So we offer basically free delivery locally. We have up to 4 vans right now, and like Jim said, him and I met about 2 years ago, and we just seemed to hit it off in the digital side, talking about what we could do, different options, and next thing you know, we were doing a bunch of R&D on DTF machines. And once we started to kind of do that, it was okay. Let's release them to customers that I know that Jim and I can basically kind of keep our hands on and make sure that there's nothing wrong, and if there is, we can problem solve it. So for about 2 years, we released them out slow. And once kind of COVID kind of settled down a little bit, we were like, you know what, let's turn on the floodgates. And the model really is that we get distributors that also have techs to come on board, because that's their customers are going to buy from them just because that's who basically there's a trust factor. Mm-hmm. Just like my customers, I can make phone calls right now and sell these machines like crazy. It's just a matter of a phone call. There's a trust factor. Yeah,
and that's how I mean, Dave is the one that sold it to me. You can follow him on Instagram. I just made him make a new one. It's Multicraft Daddy with a
Multicraft Zaddy or Daddy?
Daddy, Multicraft _Daddy. Because I'm teaching Dave how to be cool on Instagram, and I love Dave. Dave's also, for listeners, has got us into the Monarch wave and everything like that. And Dave is a really great industry leader that has helped us out, the youth, if you will, with Matt Marcotte and all the other guys. But man, that distribution is really important. It's almost like undermined or not thought of when you're thinking about equipment. But the support that continues, I think we've talked probably more hours than I've talked to Carson, my wife, since I got the machine. But like, you have to learn the piece of equipment. There's going to be things that happen, and cleanings and head nozzles and all that stuff. Have you seen or heard, talk to us about shops that are converting their Epsons over to direct to film or their DTG units? Is that a big wave for y'all too?
No, we kind of don't play in that market, just because when we started doing this, we started getting calls from people that were doing that, and those it seemed like the people that were doing those conversions, we would have went broke if we would have started helping them.
They're struggling. Obviously, they want the information we have to help them through that. But our business model really isn't the smaller machines. You know, we call our entry level machine is the 24-inch, and then we just go up from there. But being able to log in and do tech support and do all that kind of stuff, I mean, that's really ultimately is what Jim and I basically partner up on, and saying that the commitment to the customer, the machine, and make sure that that support is there is more important to our existing customers.
We get a lot of calls, though. We do a lot.
So if a shop is thinking about converting their Epson 2100 or Brother DTX to going direct to film, are they better off just ordering transfers or what?
I would suggest that they order transfers, because if you think about a DTG, you'll run a 12 by 12 in 4 minutes, and you got to value your time. If you can't value your time, then you probably should just buy transfers out.
That and the cost of those inks from those manufacturers to keep your warranty under wraps and everything else. Their cartridges, they're chipped. It's just pricey. You're not making the ROI like you would on a new piece of equipment, and speed.
Gotcha. And then if you were to do that, you would still have to use powder, right?
You'll have to use powder. You have to dip it in by hand. You got to put it in a little easy bake oven, we call them. Those are type of things that it's time consuming. You're talking on average of about 8 to 9 minutes for every 12 by 12 print.
Gotcha. That's heavy. You might as well just DTG. We actually just put our DTG on. I'm trying to sell it now. I already listed it.
We have a customer who had what machine?
They had the Jet Free Jet,
the Omni Free Jet, and he put it up for sale and bought a Cobra the same.
Bruce, maybe I'll bring it. You want to buy my DTG, Bruce?
No, I'm gonna get a Cobra Flex. I'm actually I'm kind of curious, just from you guys getting started and doing this. I mean, just looking at the site and everything, you talked about getting where you get the hardware, but or where you get the software, but the hardware, like, how do you source that and get this manufactured?
We have two sources that have our specs and plans.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 different places. We have the powder and no powder. One of our units, basically, we have the base stations. We kind of just wanted to see the coolest. And Epson's an Epson, right? That's what they are. They're just a bar and a rail. Who's got the coolest box? That's one of the things that we look for. Is we like this unit because it kind of had that snake look to it. We have other units that we're working on now. This unit is the small unit. We have the 50-inch unit and the 125-inch unit. But also we're working on a 10-color fluorescent machine that's going to be, we're working on that at this point too.
And that's so you can do double CMYK or
CMYK,
dark and light?
Yeah, light cyan, light magenta, fluorescent yellow, and fluorescent orange with white and our adhesives.
and we have that machine here that we're doing R&D on right now.
And then it's coming here, right?
Yeah.
I'll just keep sending them. I think what's most interesting. So we were anti-powder. We're like, we're not gonna do the powder thing because it's messy, right? But what's interesting when you look at the print heads, there's a CMYK print head, so you technically could screen print CMYK, and then it has a print head that throws white ink on it. So there's your underbase, and then it has a third print head that's throwing the adhesive on, which is just clear. So it's doing them all in one pass, and then it goes through like a flash unit, basically, and then it's ready to go, which is insane. How much like reconfiguring did y'all have to do to be able to throw like adhesive through a print head? That does not seem normal.
I will tell you that we've gone through a few boards trying to throw enough volume. I mean, a print head is just about electricity, right? So it's sending electricity through the piezo head, and then it'll tell you how much ink it's going to allow you to push through. So we've pushed it a little too far a couple times and had to replace headboards and tried different headboards. Tried the Hosan board, tried the BHYX boards. And configuration-wise, it just takes a little bit of configuration. There's spacing. There's all different types of things that you have to accommodate for, because you can't just throw ink over top of those adhesives or over the glue or the inks, the white ink and everything at the same time. There's literally milliseconds in timing that gives it enough time to coagulate, the inks to coagulate. So some of the people that think, hey, I can just throw this into an Epson printer and I can have an adhesive printer, they'll probably have a boat anchor at that point. So, you got to be careful. And I tell people this all the time. We have people ask us for our inks, and I will not sell inks outside of our Cobra Flex process, because I'm not going to be responsible for their printer, their inks. If they use their inks or try to use our adhesives,
Sure.
we're not going to be responsible for that. It's just it takes too much time out of our day to do something like that.
Yeah.
On it anyway to make sure that these products all fit really well together and perform.
Yeah, I think our tech said the pores on a print head are smaller than your hair follicles or something like that. The pore, half the size.
Half the size.
And so the hardest thing is like white ink, right? Like, isn't it all about like what makes white ink so difficult to work with a digital printing?
So white ink has got a powderish type base to it. And if you're not careful, it coagulates in the bottom of your tanks and all that. And it's got it's an psyllium oxide. And an oxide is basically a metal, or a powder, turns into a powder, and it's what turns the white, right? So what we look at is, some people, they try to put this in their Epsons and they don't shake their printers all the time. You got to do that every morning or twice a day if you want to keep that ink from coagulating at the bottom of your tank. So that's why the lifespan of a typical Epson printer using white inks dies. It just dies. And the same thing here. If you're not moving that ink and it's sitting in there, it's coagulating. So
the Cobra Flex has like a jacuzzi in there. That's what I call it.
Right. Yeah, a little circulatory system.
Yes, and it just lifts it from the bottom up to the top. Lifts it from the bottom to the top all the time.
So okay, people listening to this are going to be like, I can't afford it, or why? Like, this is totally new. And I think,
what's the cost range, by the way?
Cost range right now, most dealers are putting them out there right now for a show special going on, but $29 roughly for the 24-inch.
And if you buy it through multicraft_daddy, he'll give you a great deal.
Yes.
But okay, so spending $30,000 on a machine like this, when does it make sense, right? Like, this is obviously supposed to be a replacement for some things. When does it make sense for a shop to really start looking into this machine?
Well, I tell people this, if you, when doesn't it make sense? I mean, if you've got a DTG, if you have an Epson converted, you'll know that it makes sense all the way around. And I tell people that if you're looking for cost, the lowest price, we're probably not the company that you want to, hang your hat on. But if you're looking for consistency and longevity and professionalism and the service-oriented side of it, we're probably the company you want to go with. One thing I do see, and you'll see this in some of the groups, is that those groups, they talk about, I'll put it together myself, I'll do this, I'll do that. And what they don't do is they don't value their time. So if I buy a machine and I spend $24,000 by the time you get it over here to the United States, now you got to buy a computer after that. You got to buy the software. You got, or no, you get the software. You got to buy a computer. So you're at $26,000. It took you I'm seeing this so often. It took me 2 months to get this machine up and going. Well, if you don't put a dollar amount on that 2 months, then you're probably in what we call the race to the bottom. And the race to the bottom is somebody that doesn't value their time in business. So, and in this industry, you have to be very, very aware of what you are going to spend on a new piece of equipment before you buy it. So if you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
So if you really think that you're saving money by buying for less, sometimes you're sadly mistaken. Unfortunately, there are people that win. There are people who have a great mechanical aptitude that they can get it going in a week or 2 weeks. But even then, an average person who owns their own business should be making at least $100 an hour for your company. And if they can't do that because they can't run their machine, then you're losing money. So I try to educate people every day on why you should or shouldn't do anything when it comes to this type of a business. I mean, if you I kind of tell people, if you're looking at it saying I can't afford it, legitimately you probably can't afford it.
Stephen, where does it fit in with you guys, right? You talked about ordering transfers. I mean, were you just spending so much on transfers that this popped up? Or where did it come from?
Yeah, so we do, one, we're not the best technical screen printers. I'll say it what it is. We're not amazing sim process guys. We're very much a traditional shop that's great at 3 to 5 colors. And, once you get into crazy sim process, it's more of a fun thing for us is the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. We don't advertise it, right? We do a ton of e-commerce, online stores, and Shopify work where we're trying to create a print-on-demand model, essentially, where we limit the amount of inventory that we hold, but we will be top-heavy on the amount of transfers that we have. So what we'll do is we'll run a limited release of a really cool piece of artwork. And we can now cut it every couple of days, bring the blanks in, heat press them, and ship them out. So, if you think about it, if you Google Printful just raised a ridiculous amount of money again. I don't even know what the number is because they're really working on this print-on-demand thing. And that's where e-commerce is going, is on-demand or just-in-time printing. So for us, it made a huge sense for our Shopify stores that we're running. Because we're just able to keep the transfers and, hey, we just need 3 more of those or 4 more left chests, and we don't waste, we won't waste that. And so we were spending a lot of money getting those transfers, and it makes us so much faster. The other thing that I'm realizing is that it fills in the gaps of the jobs that I not necessarily don't want to do, but like last week we did a merch release drop for an athlete. We had 15 different designs, 20 pieces of each, and they were all really intense. They were really cool artwork. We had their initials right here, something on the hood, streetwear kind of thing. And I was able to do it all on an artboard in Photoshop, print it out, and we heat pressed the whole entire thing. And we were able to basically sample 400 pieces and do an in-person drop for an influencer in a day. And that was my first test on the machine, and we haven't gotten any complaints yet. So those are just 2 things. Another thing the team got really excited about is no minimums on online stores. So if you run an online store and you've got 3 pieces and then one thing only sells 4 of them, just run it on the Cobra Flex, because we weren't going to order 24 transfers to do those 2 pieces, and we were not going to DTG it. The quality of DTG is it's very limiting. It doesn't work on polyester, and everyone hates it. No one likes pre-treat, right? So those different instances just made it a no-brainer for us, and obviously volume is a big part of it. But Bruce, you just visited a shop that did print on demand, right?
Yeah.
Select.
Yeah. Check out their shop tour, by the way, in the description, because you can see actually how it works. Pretty similar to you. Actually, with COVID, they shifted, kind of similar to you guys, Jim. They've heavily shifted to e-com fulfillment. I mean, I think he was saying 60%, 50%, something like that. Pretty significant is now fulfilling for stores. And they obviously couldn't do that just running traditional screen printing. They didn't want to really do digital. They do a little bit with digital depending on the types of work, but for the most part, they stock transfers. They order garments every day. You'll notice one of the videos, one of their secret sauces is they built a little program that auto orders so many of the garments. So it kind of pulls it all into Shopify and then auto orders for them, depending on what's the closest warehouse, and go out from there. And then they stock, they put their inside labels in, and they put it on the shelf, and then they grab the transfer, wheel it over, and people just, it's like it's stuck to the shirt with the transfer, a little clip, and put it down. And they must have 8, machines that they're working on and just heat transferring. And so, and then another person is shipping everything out, weighing it, putting it in bags and shipping.
I think, Bruce, what we're learning about our industry, or like how our industry has changed in the last, like, we are more direct to consumer than we've ever been, right? Like, my business partner, Jed, will say, we used to just print 100 shirts, put them in a box, and if one was messed up, take it out, right? And now it's like you have a unique experience with every customer, but there's also a lot of money to be made when you're retailing, right? Like, you can sell a t-shirt for $25 these days versus a $7 3-color front, 1-color back, And so I guess, Jim and Chris, are the customers that you're servicing screen print shops? Are they more, offset shops that want to get into apparel? What's the customer profile that you guys are really going after?
A lot of them are screen print shops. I'm going to be honest, I think there's another direction on the sign shops because they're not afraid of big digital machines either. And they've never been really into this kind of market because screen printing is just, a lot of product intense, the chemicals, the screens, burning it. So a lot of the sign shops have kind of stayed away from screen printing, but the screen printers, within about 7 or so clicks, they're up and going and doing DTF printing instantly. And they're also being able to sample, like back to, why somebody wants to even, go this direction and spend that kind of money. The ROI is through the roof. Per print, full color. They don't need all the products to do it, but they could also minimize and reduce the designs down and set your template up and sample other customers as well as create, extra stuff for aprons and hats and different products to promote, an upsell to the customer right now. Everybody's looking for more employees, so by and not being able to get them, so having those extra prints, and then they say, hey, tomorrow I just hired a new person, you can pull that transfer and slap another transfer on another item, order the shirt in and be done. So a lot of the screen printing shops are jumping on this right away because to get that talented screen printer to do that multicolor or to even offer it right now is really hard to do. So this machine fills that void, and I think will for many years.
So, go ahead, Bruce.
Ferg, where do you fill it in now with your work, right? So you tell your sales reps if it's who decides where it's going. If it's going DTF, obviously, e-com is one side, but just regular orders, and you're selling DTG. Is that where it's replacing it today?
Yeah. Well, we're only 10 days in, or 8 or 9 days in.
Okay.
But our order processor, like on the flight deck, basically knows how a job is going to get produced. Mm-hmm. And they will tell them before the sales rep even, it's almost like the sales engineer will say, nope, we're going to transfer that. And then they'll price it for transfers. Whether we're buying the transfers or we are doing the transfers in-house, we set up pricing just for transfers. Really, if we're running any type of online store where we're worried about minimums and it's going to be above a couple colors, we're usually doing transfers. The order processor will make the call based on the complexity of the job and what our schedule looks like. Would we do 100 pieces? Would we, obviously we want to screen print as much as possible, but if we're jammed up, the heat press does not stop. So it's kind of a hat dance a little bit, and you have to have someone that's definitely knowledgeable in it. I think the biggest difference is I'm not afraid to sell multicolor stuff and be like afraid of like a 30-piece 7-color back. Those are the ones that kill you, right? And those don't scare me anymore because I don't have to DTG it, and it's just printing out, 30 of the transfers, right?
But you still keep your minimums as is because the whole pre-sales process.
Yeah, we're not trying to target 1- and 2-piece customers.
Right.
Don't think I want an online design tool, Bruce.
Can I fancy you in a designer tool? Okay, that makes and that because that's what I'm curious, right? Like, what is it good? Where is it not? It's still better to set up the job fully on a press, but
yeah. What do you think, Chris and Jim? What do you think about the wave to like digital squeegees? Isn't this a competitor to a digital squeegee?
Well, digital squeegees, what, 300 and some $1,000 around, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's a big number, and you still got to put it on a screen printing press. That's part of the press. And like Chris said, that talent, that screen printing talent, is not there anymore. That's the hardest part about it. It used to be there was 10 people to fill every position, and now that we've lost that whole artesian portion of it, it's pretty much gone.
So there are people out there that are like probably listening to this, like cringing in their chairs, being like, I still love screen printing. Screen printing isn't dead. You just love the feeling of it. Do you get that a lot?
Yes. I had a guy at the show, older gentleman, 10 days away from retirement. He basically said, this is bullcrap, man. He said, I've been pulling squeegees for 37 years. He was pretty ticked off. He's like, if I would have had this years ago, I would have been in heaven.
But are print shops fighting you, saying like, no, customers are still going to want real ink?
It's funny. They're looking at it going, we have one client who bought a Cobra Flex. She was basically, when we first introduced her, she sat there and cried.
Yeah. She said, this is finally here. It's finally taken away screen printing.
It's like, I don't have to worry about the guy coming in drunk. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about that. Every day it's something new with these people.
So what does it not work on? Like, what does a Cobra Flex, what do the transfers not work on? Like, what are your challenges or your pain points? Is it a material? Is it, talk to us about that.
Right now it's glass, promotional product type scenarios, working on the adhesives for that next. It's the next phase of adhesives. I will tell you that anything that's been water treated, it has a little bit of an issue sticking to. Now, it seems like anything that's got a silicone base that they spray for water treatment. I just did some canvas. I did some untreated bags that worked well. I did some canvas bags that were treated that didn't work very good at all. I had to take a little bit of denatured alcohol, wipe it in the area, and then press down to it. So we test just about everything right now. It works really, really well on polyester jerseys. It's a big thing for us right now. Is we want to push that because right now it's, as everybody knows, it's really, really hard to get jerseys and any Nike, Adidas, any of that stuff coming in the door right now. It's pretty tough. So at the last minute, people are coming to us saying, hey, I need to put something on poly, but I can't have it made or I can't get it. So, even Nike is saying, I can't, we can't make that on demand for you anymore. So,
unless you're Clubhouse Athletics, sponsor of Print Hustlers 2021, clubhouseathletic.com.
Is that where do you think that's where the machine's going? Or do people need to buy a new machine in the future are the machines future proofed, or is it advancements that you guys are going to make over the next couple of years?
I will tell you that advancements wise, we have goals, and our goals are to, my goal is in the next three to 4 years, putting out a machine that'll do 4,000 to 5,000 shirts an hour. 12 by 12s.
Do you think you're going to have to use like a stampinator or something, like something that can heat press in line? I don't know if you've seen a stampinator.
Yes.
Do you think you'll have to use something like that?
We're working on a heat press. That's a 6-head heat press that's got a auto puller. We're setting it up now. That basically it's got a heat set. You put it on. It goes on to the next phase. It goes under a heater, hits it, comes around, goes to the cooling station. Then it goes to a robotic arm that's going to pull the sheet off, and it hits the second press after that. So it's
we need to go do a tour, Bruce. That's you guys should do 8 so you can use like Cobra Flexagon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but we're trying to keep it thin and small. Something that'll do a shirt every 15 to 20 seconds, but with 6 heads. So we're basically taking other people's stuff. We'll tear it apart, remake it, and go from there.
So how much of your time is spent in R&D? Is it just you two that are like, just kind of hacking through it? Tell us about that.
40 to 80 hours a week sometimes, just R&D.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I could show you a stack of headboards that.
I just show you a bunch of ink and stuff that's not good.
Don't send it our way.
I can tell you
pallets of stuff that's not right.
We have thousands of liters that are we've tested and tested and tested.
Do you focus now fully on Cobra Flex, or do you run the shop still?
Absolutely, focus 100% on Cobra Flex at this point. My screen side, it's narrowed down, really narrowed down.
So, do you think, like, if you were to predict, do you think the wave of DTGs is gonna? Do you think they're just gonna die? Like, is DTG dead?
I think so. I mean, honestly, I think that it's going to
Chris
come
says
to.
yes.
Yeah, it's going to come to the. I mean, honestly, I kind of believe that DTG was dead on arrival, and just because there were so many different variables, and we've run into them, but not being able to get a smooth surface, that's very important. Putting again, each shirt is going to have an inconsistent spray, just because it's an uneven surface.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the DTF comes into play and says it's a perfectly even surface. We're going to put it onto an uneven surface with heat and pressure. So basically now we have the smoothest, softest hand in the industry.
It is very smooth. I made Bruce. I had a shirt for Bruce, and I found his streetwear brand from when he was a young boy. And Bruce, you've got one right there, I think. It's great.
You want to get it real quick?
Yeah, no, you can grab it. I mean, it has no hand. It literally has. It almost, you're like, whoa, there's nothing to it. And what was funny is I took garbage artwork. Well, not Bruce garbage, but I photoshopped a picture of Bruce.
I don't know if this is the
I
best
threw it into.
here for an example.
Oh, look at that. Okay, just zoom that into the camera a little bit.
Yeah, on your Instagram post, I believe I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, look at little Bruce twice there. Yeah. And I Photoshop that. You just make it's like a channel separation basically. You make a white channel, a glue channel, or an adhesive channel. Look at that one. God, I really like that one.
The job we just did for a lady, she said she walked in the door with 5 pairs of underwear, and she said, "I want my face on my husband or boyfriend's underwear," and we put 30 little hers all over his underwear.
I haven't gotten that request, but it was cool that I whipped that up so quickly, and it wasn't like it wasn't hard, I guess talk about like wash and wear. How many washes are you thinking these are gonna, what's the shelf life of this?
So right now, let's talk about where we're at now. What our goal is going to be. I mean, our goal is going to be up to 100 washes.
This is like some Elon Musk goals. I like these.
So we've already surpassed any DTG processes. We've gone anywhere from 30 to 60 washes, depending on what you're putting in. Polyester seems to hold a lot longer, and polyester just binds and binds because poly is the base of our inks, so it binds to the shirts very, very well. So
we've done some Nike jerseys, football jerseys that look amazing. The sleeves are actually screen printed, like stripes on them, which just feels ridiculously thick. Straight from Nike, but it's a great jersey. And that jersey, you can't even feel the print on the front of the jersey. With Cobra Flex, a gigantic print on there. So, I mean, those are the kind of things that, we're definitely looking for. Some reversibles.
This is one that we just finished.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
That is really cool.
What's really cool is on the artwork, Jim has been kind of teaching me that you can pick and choose where you want to put the underbase. So I added it to one part, but I really wanted it thinned down in another area. So you just you start to figure it out and try. No differently than screen printing. It's no different than being in your dark room and trying different things out. It definitely is an experiment. Now, Jim, it is a cold peel, right?
Yes.
As cold as you can possibly be.
Yes, and I will tell you that we are right now working on hot peel.
Gotcha.
And we're getting there. We're getting there. So
how quickly can you get, okay, say people hear this podcast and they're like, Multicraft Daddy, I want one. What's a turn time to get equipment installed?
About 4 to 5 weeks, depending on we'll have them done and installed and ready to go. But depending on what the service tech's schedules are looking like
for install.
Typically 5 weeks max. So
cool.
That's awesome.
What's Bruce? What else you got?
I'm so curious on the business angle, really, which you've kind of touched on, like where it's good for, where it's not good for. Were there any kind of gotchas, especially Farrag, as you installed it, right? Or things like you talked about, maybe the cold peel is one, or just things to know for people as they evaluate DTF or just getting to install it?
Well, I think there's a curve somewhere that talks about like early adopters, right? Like I am an early adopter, and I think shops need to understand that this is a new technology that is changing fast and will update quickly. And they have to, it's like you have to get on the bus and be willing to take that journey, right? And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is you need to rely on experts, and they are also going to be there to support you too. But nothing's going to go when you're an early adopter. It's like buying something on Kickstarter. You have to just be prepared that it's going to be new, but it is a new technology that can be a game changer, which it's already been a game changer for us, and we're super excited about it. But no different than digital squeegee. I think it's the same way. You have to be prepared to be an early adopter. Nothing's going to be a Tesla out of the gates. But someone had to buy the original one. So I don't know. That would kind of be my 2 cents of it.
You coined it right there, game changer, because that's really what I see is our customers that out there that have these machines. That's exactly what they say. The industry has changed on them, and you say, well, so is the game. It's a game changer for everything they're doing.
Yeah, I think for me, it's liberating to know that I can sell aggressively and not worry about it, right? And there are other applications, right, that we haven't talked about, leather, patch. You can do some other cool things that we haven't really experimented with. But when you find the game changer in your shop, you exploit the living crap out of it, right? Like we tell this to shops all the time. If you're not using a CTS, that is a game changer in your shop. For some shops, it might be Tri-Lock, but for others, it's you have to be going direct to screen, right? We say like, I don't know, Bruce, what are the other game changers that we're crazy about?
I mean, direct to screen probably.
Using Printavo is a game changer.
That one, I mean, I think people talk about the production manager, someone, that can really pull the glue and get it off the owner's plate. But I mean, this is pretty big. And especially, I appreciate you guys sharing the story behind it. It's pretty unique as you pivoted from such a downturn, really, from COVID into such a positive upswing here with this. So pretty excited to be able to see it and see you guys pushing it. Are you guys going to be at Long Beach by chance with it?
We're trying to put together the show now. We'll probably be at the show.
That'd be great. Love to film something.
Yeah, and we'll be because Jim and Chris and Dave have been like gracious enough to like let us be one of the early shops. I'll be pushing a lot of stuff out on my Instagram about it, just in figuring things out and helping shops out along the way. Happy to discuss it, and if shops want to come down to Champaign, you're more than welcome to see it. Unless you're my local competition, then stay away. or a sign shop. Keep them out of this. Keep them out of this. Hopefully they're not listening. Any last words or anything else you guys might add to this, or anyone listening at home?
No. What I will tell you is there's a lot of naysayers out there, and I will tell you that's kind of our driving force. And we're just going to keep on pushing farther and pushing harder. And by the time this is all said and done, once we got enough product in the market, you're going to see that we're going to keep changing the game every year.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, guys.
This is
is
awesome.
Jim and Chris out of Cobra Flex. We'll drop a link down below. Producer Chris will hook it all up with all this information. We've mentioned a lot of things in here. Thank you guys again for listening to this episode of Printavo Print Hustlers podcast. Hopefully we'll see you coming out this weekend. A lot of people coming out for Printavo's and Made Labs
Is
and
this
big labs.
this is gonna drop before Print Hustlers? See everyone in
This will.
Chicago.
We'll see you guys at Print Hustlers Conference. It's going to be exciting. And if not this one, hopefully we'll see you at the next one. We're making it a lot bigger, a lot better. Everything just keeps improving. But Jim and Chris, thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.